Okay, we're back. We're gonna have you spend the night because we have so much to talk about, which is fine. We're gonna get you set up. But Deep End Podcast. My name is Tim, and my wife Emilie is off this side. So we have the radio show in the UK on Connect Radio. We also have the Deep End Podcast. We're here with Ed Lyons,
Hey,
which
Tim.
is absolutely a pleasure to see you. So we're not even gonna do the wardrobe change.
No,
we just got a drink. We got freshened up. Right, we're good. We're not pretentious, but we have so much to talk about.
Yeah.
So we talked about prayer on the first episode, but you have, I don't know where you want to start. I know you have a computer, you have pictures,
Yeah.
But you're with the Persecution
Project.
Foundation.
Yeah.
And how do we get a hold of you? How do people find out more about you, brother?
You can find us online, persecutionproject.org.
Okay. And if you want any more information, journeyhomeministries.com as well. So we'll have links connected with that. So tell us more, brother. Where we got?
A lot of people don't know what's happening in Sudan. So, there was a 23-year civil war going on between the people, predominantly Christians in the south part of Sudan, and the Islamic population in the north part of Sudan.
Okay.
This was when it was the largest country in Africa.
Okay.
So you had a 23-year war going on for liberation.
When did that start?
Well, it ended in 2006.
Okay.
So in 2006, there was a comprehensive peace agreement. Let's call it CPA, Comprehensive Peace Agreement. And it gave a 5-year window where the people in South Sudan, what is now South Sudan, at the end of that 5 years in 2011, they could vote for either staying with Sudan or vote for independence, become their own country. And it happened in July of 2011. They overwhelmingly voted for independence.
Okay.
Now, at that same time, there was a little area known as the Nuba Mountains that was promised the same vote for referendum, the referendum vote for independence, but they weren't given it. So the area where we're working is now located still in Sudan. Okay, physically in Sudan, whereas South Sudan split off and became the newest nation still. I don't think there's been a nation newer than South Sudan in 2011.
South Sudan.
South Sudan. So you have South Sudan.
Different country.
And
you are working in Sudan?
Sudan.
Okay.
But the confusing part is we are working in the southern portion of Sudan, not South Sudan. So, as we mentioned on the first episode, it is about the size of the state of Georgia. Speaking.
Is this area just to geek out a little bit on? But it's like, is this area the only that's impacted with this lack of freedom?
No, there's another area called the Blue Nile State. That's also a contested area. We call them contested areas.
Gotcha.
But there has been a really an embargo or a they don't allow things to get into this area. The Sudanese government, because the majority of Christians in this country live in southern Kordofan, which is the Nuba region.
Where you're ministering.
Yes, where we're ministering. Okay, so really there's been this kind of a net placed around this area where they don't want they want to get rid of the Christians. They don't care how they do it.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're bombing them. There were there have been over 4,000 bombs dropped on this region.
Who's dropping the bombs? Can I ask, or can you say?
The government of Sudan.
Oh,
yeah.
Because they're Christians?
Because it's predominantly Christian. Well, there's 3 reasons, really.
Okay.
One is the Christianity versus Islam. The second is political. The National Congress Party was the party in control of Sudan, and there is another political party in this region, Sudanese People's Liberation Movement North.
Okay.
And then ethnically, the Sudanese government is run by people that kind of associate with more Arab flavor, whereas the Nuba people are very dark, black African people. But
so is there a little bit of a racial mix?
There is. That's right. Yeah, it's
a disparity. You could maybe see a difference, or
racial, political, and religious.
Okay.
So you have that reason, but they've been under the gun, literally,
since
for a long time,
forever.
Yeah, because he had the 23-year war prior to the independence of South Sudan, and then they were promised a vote for independence and weren't given it. They could have become part of South Sudan, I guess, but they weren't given that option. So now they're
they weren't given the option.
No, they weren't given the option.
So it's not that they refused; they just weren't given.
No, but they fought really with South Sudan.
That was going to be my next question. So they fought, but no
independence given. So they're still in Sudan, and they don't care if the government of Sudan doesn't care if they bomb them out of existence or if they just leave on their own accord. They've got this humanitarian embargo around the entire region. They don't want any aid going into this area, right? So they want to either drive them out or it doesn't matter. So that's kind of a backdrop. Things have changed since 2023 also. There is a fight going on, a war going on in Sudan. The United Nations has said Sudan is the world's worst humanitarian crisis.
Wow.
Now, think about what's going on in the world, right?
Yeah.
And they're still saying that this country, Sudan, is the world's worst humanitarian crisis.
And how much do we hear about the Sudan in the news?
In zero here in the US.
I don't remember.
Now, I do know that BBC, many of your listeners from the UK, BBC covers Sudanese African, news stories.
Yeah. Okay.
So your listeners may be more familiar with Sudan and what's going on.
But in the U.S., we don't.
No, in the U.S., we don't hear anything about this.
Yeah.
And you wonder why.
Yeah.
Wow. So currently. Well, let me tell you this. At the beginning of 2023, we had about 3 million people living in the Nuba region. Okay. The war started on April 15th, 2023, between two different Islamic military groups fighting for control of Sudan. Since that time, the population has increased to what is now 5.6 million. So we've had 2.6 million people come into this region, flee, fighting in the rest of Sudan. They're fleeing to other countries, but they're also fleeing to the region where we are.
Why?
Because of it's a massive, chaotic, destructive scene going on in Sudan.
Are there Islamic folks?
Yeah, they're fighting each other. There is the Sudanese, the Sudan Armed Forces, SAF, fighting the Rapid Support Forces, the RSF. And this has been going on since April 15th, 2023. And the fighting started in Khartoum, the capital of Sudan. So you had a population of about 8 million people living in the capital. And the capital has been utterly destroyed, like 90% of the capital.
And the capital of your area or Sudan in general?
Sudan.
So Sudan is getting...
Sudan
is in the drama as well. They're not safe from
Sudan.
It's involving everybody.
Yes.
The turmoil or whatever.
This war. But they're also taking the opportunity to just remind these Christians that their eye is still on them. So now they've been using drones to attack the Nuba region. So since Thanksgiving, the end of November of 2025, they've started drone attacks. We've had 4 in the Nuba region. One was the day after Thanksgiving here at the end of November, and that attack occurred against always civilian groups, right? Yeah. They're not military groups. They're civilians, and this was a group of teens and 20-year-olds meeting together, and they surveyed the area before they dropped the bombs, and then they dropped the bomb, and then when people came to help the victims, they dropped a second bomb. And these were phosphorus bombs. So,
oh my goodness, brother.
Very high mortality rate. And then on Christmas Day, they dropped another bomb from a drone, hit a church, group worshiping. Then on January 6th, they attacked a marketplace. And then just recently, they again attacked a village. So what they're doing is they're looking for high population targets, right? And they're always civilians. So they're targeting church. This is their mode of operation. They target churches, they target marketplaces, they target medical facilities, they target any place people are gathering.
Where people are.
Yeah.
And we don't, I'm just saying, we don't hear about this.
We don't.
We don't hear anything about this at all.
No.
We were talking about the scorpions, right? And like, hey, so it kind of, you had a lot of, I kind of feel, how do I say it? A little bit of shame, but you understand my ignorance, like, how cool is the scorpion story?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of craziness going there.
There is.
It seems like they're trying to drive them out. Are they driving the Christians out? What's going on with the Christians here?
No, they're not driving them out.
Why aren't they leaving?
That's their home. That's their home.
Okay.
And it's mountainous. It's a difficult place. They've had ground incursions. They've had military fights on the ground, but it's difficult. They have a military.
It's their home. I love it. Home.
Yeah, they're going to fight for their home.
Okay.
And their freedom. They don't want Sharia law to be the law of the land.
God bless them. I'm just saying they're not giving up though.
No, they're not giving up.
So we need to support them.
Everybody over there is, they might be a doctor. Everybody's got to be a farmer, first of all. So they might be a doctor, might be a nurse, might be a teacher, but they're also farmers. And for a lot of the men, they're also military. Yeah, it's like back with our revolution. Yeah.
Right, sure.
Farmers carried their guns out, because you never, and it's like that in Sudan. You never know when the attack's going to happen. So anyway, that beside the point, I do have a picture on the screen.
Okay, here. Sure. Love it.
This is in the northern section of the Nuba Mountains. It's the Dalami people. Wow. And we were ministering up there. We were doing an outreach to this group of people. And so on the other side of the mountain was the Sudan Armed Forces. And we were getting there very late in the evening. And so it was nearing the time where, we needed to find a place to sleep.
Yeah.
And so we were this was a very rocky, mountainous region, and the people there were living in the caves. So what you see here is a picture of people living.
Is this an average home, or is this a special circumstance?
No, this in this area, this was an average home.
Wow.
So we were going cave to cave to try to find some place we could spend the night.
Wow.
But every cave was completely full. The people had moved out of the lower regions up into these caves to avoid the bombs. Okay. Now, the Dalami people, it's the Qualib tribe. Qualib is kind of like Caleb. Okay.
Okay.
Now, the Islamic people were naming them Caleb. Caleb means dog. We know, Caleb was one of the two spies sent into the promised land who came back, Caleb and Joshua, with a good report.
Yes.
Saying we need to go in and take the promised land. Caleb, from our perspective, is a faithful dog. But for the Islamic group, they're putting these people down by calling them dogs, basically.
Wow.
But this tribe is about 95% Christian. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. And everybody's living in these caves. So we're up there trying to find a cave to sleep in for the night. We could not find one that had enough room for our team. So what we ended up doing was...
What is your team? What's the size of your team, brother?
This team had maybe 10 to 12 people.
Okay.
And
I'm just saying, you've got to be called to go in here.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
There aren't many groups in there. We're one of the few groups, ministry groups.
You've got to be called. You can't go without the protection. What is it? Psalm 91, 93? 91.
You
know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
I'll hide you under your wings, right?
Yes.
That I worked in the inner city of Chicago, and that was my verse. And I felt that all the time.
Psalm 91 is great.
You're walking in darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're walking next to your brothers and sisters that are walking in darkness, but you can see it, the spiritual warfare.
Yeah, it's very much evident over there. Whereas in the U.S., you don't see it. It's, in fact, it reminds me of a story where Moses is telling the people of Israel, when you get into the promised land, be careful, because there you're going to be drinking from wells you didn't dig.
Come on. Yeah.
You're going to be eating the fruit from trees you didn't plant.
Yes. Wow.
Basically, he's warning them against prosperity. He's like, look,
okay,
when you when you have everything, like we do in the U.S., we have prosperity. You tend to rely upon yourself, like you mentioned in the first episode. And so you're not as necessarily reliant upon the Lord. But in a place like Sudan, every single decision is, God, please help us. Yeah. I need medicine. Help, Lord.
Well,
I need food.
Can I be very honest and very American about this?
Yeah.
where am I going to plug my CPAP in?
Yeah.
And what about my blood pressure medicine?
Yeah.
And what about this? Like, okay, this is scary. Like,
yeah.
Not. I know that's silly, but that's
no. Let me put it into perspective. This is like going back to Jesus's day.
Yeah,
when I go there, there are no paved roads.
Yeah.
There's no electricity. There's no running water in homes. Everybody has. We call them long drops to go to the bathroom. There's no bathroom facilities.
Okay, wow.
They dig a hole in the ground and you go.
How far is this cave? I'm looking at this picture. Your perspective behind you is what?
It's deep? The opening. We're at the opening.
You're at the opening.
Yeah.
That could be a little scary too, that I'd imagine.
Well, yeah. Some of these, you're
depending on the drop.
It depends on the drop.
Yeah. Depending on what.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
it's more like large boulders. You're bouldering up, and then there's a cave inside. So this cave's probably about 20 feet deep, maybe 30. But if your viewers can see it, you'll see they've brought all their possessions from their home up there, and they're living in the caves. They're doing everything in the caves. So the next picture shows a woman cooking in the caves,
Wow.
But the point was we couldn't find a location, so we set up on the outside of a cave entrance. Okay. We put we were sleeping on the rock. We had a towel. I had a towel that was underneath me, a very thin towel, but I'm sleeping on a rock for the night. And
it was a comfortable rock though, right?
It was the best rock.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So in the middle of the night, I wake up with a sudden pain in my thigh. Felt like I got shot by a bullet. And one of our team members stayed up all night because you never know when the military from the SAF is going to attack. So he stayed up all night in case there was an incursion of ground forces. And then he'd wake us up. So I wake up with what feels like a bullet wound. I felt like my heart was beating in my thigh.
Sure.
And I was like, what in the world? So I got my phone, turned on the flashlight on my phone. You don't have cell service. There's no phone service.
Sure, yeah.
But you carry it because there's a flashlight on your phone. So what I saw was a whole bunch of ants going up and down the side of my blanket. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, they must be, one of the, I don't know, worst kind of ants.
Right.
They must have bit me or stung me.
Yeah, sure.
And so I wake up Brad. He's on the team. He's with me. He's next to me sleeping. I wake him up and I said, Brad, I think I just got stung by some ants. I've got to move my blanket. And he said, sorry, brother. And he rolled over and went right back to sleep. Right.
That was nice. Our first interaction with Brad. What a nice guy.
He is
we love Brad.
He's a great guy. I don't blame him. It's like 2 a.m.
Yeah, come on, man.
He's had a long day. It was like 2 hours of hiking up this mountain to get where we were after we had traveled all day. So as I'm getting up to get my blanket, I notice underneath where my leg was a little white scorpion.
Oh.
Smaller than the size of my hand.
So this is the scorpion. Okay.
This is the scorpion.
Wow.
So then I realized, no, it's not the ants. It was the scorpion on my blanket who was trying to eat the ants, and I must have rolled on top of the scorpion, and he zapped me. Now, I had never been stung by a scorpion before, so I didn't know what to do. So I woke Brad back up, and I said, Brad, it wasn't the ants, it was a scorpion.
Okay.
So now,
big deal.
Middle of the night, Brad says, well, brother, what you have to do is you have to crush the scorpion's body up.
Okay.
You have to get a match. You have to get some of the goo from the scorpion. You have to burn that, and you have to put that on the sting. Okay, it's going to suck the venom out. And I'm thinking to myself, it's 2 a.m. Everybody's asleep except for the one guard that we have. And I don't have a match.
And you have to remain calm.
And you have to remain calm.
No big deal. Did you ask Brad what would happen if you don't light the match?
I did not. I said, Brad, I don't have a match. And he said, oh, sorry, brother. And he rolled over.
No, he didn't.
Brad. And I don't blame him.
We need to talk to
I really
Brad.
don't blame him.
Get Brad on the phone. No, we love Brad.
So then I was like, oh, gosh, what do I do? So I tried to do what Brad says. I was going to go to the guard, get a match. When I got back up, the scorpion was gone.
Oh.
So the little white scorpion had not died when I rolled on him.
Whoa.
He was playing dead when I got up the first time, and now he had crawled back in a crack somewhere in the rock, and I couldn't even get him if I was going to do what Brad told me to do. So now I move my blanket, and I sit down, and it feels like my leg is... It's like it was shot, not what I imagined it would be like to be shot.
Okay.
So I sit there for about a half an hour, and it's not getting any better. And then I decide, hey, going back to the prayer, power of prayer, 2:30 in the morning, I start praying. I'm like, Lord, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to.
Were you scared?
I've gotten to the place where no, I trust in the Lord. I mean, yeah,
Wow.
there's a fear of like, maybe I'm not going to come home to my wife. Yeah, I fear for her. I'm not worried about myself so much.
Did you think, okay, go ahead.
I didn't know. I had never been stung by a scorpion. I didn't know if it was lethal or not. So I pray, and I'm not lying. Instantaneously, well, I would say within 5 minutes of praying, everything stopped. The pounding in my leg, and I went back to sleep. And then
no way. So you got bit by a scorpion,
stung by a scorpion,
stung.
Yeah, little white one.
You didn't melt them down.
I didn't.
You didn't go to CVS.
I was going to. No,
you didn't call your doctor.
CVS's. No.
And then, but you prayed.
I did.
And then you went back to sleep.
And that's what the people there have to do all the time, basically.
This is okay.
Think about the size of the state of Georgia.
Yeah.
In the U.S. UK may not understand how big this is. Maybe it's like Rwanda and Botswana put together. Okay. Maybe that size. Those countries.
Wow. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
There's only 4. There might be 6 hospitals, 4 that we support in the whole area.
Wow.
Okay. Now they have primary health care clinics in some villages, but typically, say a person's living like the Dalami people in the caves. Nothing. If they get stung, what are they going to do?
Right.
There's no clinic anywhere near.
Yeah.
By. So anyway, the Lord he touched me. And so the next morning when I wake up, all of the Sudanese people on our team come to me and said, you got stung by a scorpion last night? I said, yeah. And then the next question was it a black scorpion or a white scorpion?
Okay.
And I said, it was a white scorpion. I didn't know the difference. I said, it was a white scorpion. They're like, and you're not sick? You're not feeling bad?
Whoa.
And the white scorpion's the worst scorpion.
Really?
Yeah, apparently the smaller they are, the more deadly the poison. I mean, or potent the poison. I don't know if they're deadly or not. And they were amazed. All the Sudanese workers with us were amazed that I wasn't feeling any pain. So just that
reminds me of a guy in the Bible and a little snake.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Paul. So you're living that out. You're living that out.
I did that time.
That's amazing.
I still wouldn't want to get stung by another one.
Yeah. But still, but how beautiful is that?
Yeah.
We talk about prayer, right?
Yeah.
That you pray, you don't freak out. And Ed, you're great, but you're not, you weren't glowing walking in here. I think you're a normal guy.
No, I'm a normal guy.
I mean, kind of. You're a little crazy, but in a good way.
Yeah.
But right.
But no, I'm a sinner.
Yeah, but
I'm not holy.
Right. But you pray, but in that you were put in that situation and you didn't freak out.
No.
You had to trust the Lord. I love that. And that's where God help us to go in those situations.
Yeah.
To be put in those situations where we have to trust the Lord.
And you have to trust the Lord. You have to trust the Lord.
You had to.
No, I had to. But even nowadays, even in the U.S., we have to trust the Lord.
You do. That's true. Yeah. And even through the chaos that we have, yes, we don't have scorpions.
No.
And I'm not trying to minimize, but the devil is going to try to attack, whether it's a scorpion.
That's right.
Or whether it's a sick kid.
Yeah.
Or whether it's a distraction of a TV show that we shouldn't be watching. We should be reading our Bible or praying.
Yeah.
The
devil prowls around like
a roaring lion, looking,
seeking whom he may devour.
Yeah.
So there are attacks. There are spiritual attacks going on.
But I just am so grateful. But
I've got some more slides here. While we're up there, just leading into this next one, we're starting to talk because it's the next morning now. We're awake.
So they were. What did that? Were they Christians? The guys that were
mostly, yeah. Like
did
95% of the people up there are Christians.
Did they say anything, or they're just like, "Amen"? I mean, they were like praising God.
They were just praising God.
Yeah,
they were like, "That's amazing." Yeah, they were like your reaction right there.
Yeah, because God's a healer, right?
Yes.
Like, come on, buddy, you're nice, but come on, man.
Yeah.
But that's the power of prayer, not the power of Ed's. Right?
Does God always heal?
Yeah, He doesn't.
No, not always in our lifetime, right? There is an ultimate healing in His presence.
Yep.
But I mean, we've all known people who have passed.
Sure.
So I mean, in certain circumstances, He heals.
Yeah.
And it's for our day today, right?
But He touched you.
Yeah, He touched me. All I can testify is my testimony.
Yeah. Amen.
And that's what happened.
That's powerful.
Now, so while we're up there the next morning, we're like, we had brought in our own water. We had bottled water with us, right? We were carrying it. But then we're looking around, and this place is packed with people. And we're like, where are these people getting their water? We hadn't thought about it. We're up in the mountains. We're in the caves.
Right.
So we see this young girl who's on the picture here on the left.
Okay.
Rima, she's got an empty jerry can on her head. It's a 5-gallon bucket, basically, that she's going to get water. And she's all the women over there carry things on their heads. And they're very strong. Yeah. So this is
that's
an empty.
Heavy. That's a lot of water.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
Yeah, each gallon's 8 pounds. So you've got a 40-pound when it's full. But right now it's empty. And we're seeing her. She's about 11, 12 years old. But there are other women going up. They're climbing on these boulders. They're going further up the mountains. And so we're like, we're going to follow her to see where she gets the water. Now, honestly, she went about an hour further on these boulders. And then we get to a cave. And the cave's 20 feet deep. And there's the next picture. The cave's 20 feet deep, and she climbs down to the bottom of this cave. And then she gets on her belly.
No way.
Yes. And she crawls under a boulder. And I tried to do this after her. After she filled up her jerry can, I said, where is she getting the water? And so I got on my belly. And of course, I'm bigger than she is. And the rocks were hitting my back. And I got to this little tiny puddle that you see on the right-hand picture.
Okay, yes.
That's the puddle. And she had a little cup, a little tin cup that they leave there. And she filled the cup up, and somebody would pull her out by her ankles, and she would pour that water into
That's a small puddle, is it not?
It's
a really small,
puddle.
in case people can't see it. Very small.
Very small. And as you picked water out, more would come in.
It's not even a sinkful if people can't see it.
No, it's not a sinkful. Yeah, but it would refill.
Wow.
So it was constantly being there. So she would get a cup. They would pull her out. She would pour that cup into the jerry can. She would go back, get another cup until it was filled. So she got 5 gallons, 40 pounds of water, puts it on her head, climbs 20 feet back up to the surface, and walks an hour down to her cave. And she does it a couple of times a day.
Really? Wow. Like every day?
Every day. Every day. That's where they were getting their water.
Wow.
And we take for granted a spigot.
Yes, we do.
You know, I mean, that's just amazing.
We take, so much. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So I had an opportunity while I was up in this area in Delamy County to preach at a church. And so this picture shows I had a translator. They speak Arabic. They speak many languages.
Yeah.
The younger people in the Nuba are being taught English because they want to separate themselves from the government of Sudan. And the national language is Arabic. So the older folks know Arabic. The younger folks are being taught English besides their primary mother tongue language, their tribe language.
Okay.
And of course, the national language is Arabic. So I'm speaking English. I have a translator translating it into a language for the people. But in this picture, you'll notice a couple of things. Above me in the wall, there's a massive hole in the wall of this church.
Yes, sir. Yep.
That's from that church being targeted by a bombing.
Wow.
So they bombed that church. They hadn't had a repair on that wall yet.
Yeah, there's a hole in the back. I mean, it just absolutely. Yeah.
And then you'll look at the pulpit, and the pulpit's a metal pulpit, but it's got holes in it. I don't know if your viewers can see it.
Yeah.
Those are shrapnel holes. And so there's shrapnel all over, because everybody has foxholes. There are foxholes outside of the schools because they target schools. Wow. Foxholes outside of the medical facilities because they target those. Foxholes out all over the place, outside of the church buildings. So, you hear an Antonov. They used to use these Antonov cargo planes to drop the bombs.
Say that. What is that?
Antonov. It's a Russian-made cargo plane.
Okay.
And they would. It's big and bulky. You can hear it coming. So, and it changes tone when it's opening the tailgate.
Okay. Wow.
So it opens the tailgate and they roll the bombs off the back. So they're not very accurate. But you can tell
But you've been there enough that you know that.
You can tell when they're slowing down to open the tailgate. Okay. It makes a sound change. So if we're driving, say we're in a Land Cruiser and we're going from one village to the other, you kind of keep your eyes open on the people. If the people stop and they're looking up, you just kind of stop. But if the people are running, you get out and you get into a hole.
Okay.
You get into a ditch. You do the best you can.
And that's life for you.
That's life for them.
For while you're there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
right. Sure.
How many times have you gone over there? Would you say?
I used to go 4 times a year.
Okay.
Now, past COVID, twice a year.
Okay.
So.
But I've
been doing it for 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of trips over there.
Yeah. A lot
of trips.
My